Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in on today's The Rewind. So what this show is all about is pretty much a cheat sheet for the entire week. So all of our shows that we air here on Propelio TV, it's all jam-packed into 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. We'll see how it goes. But make sure you stay tuned. Please do not go away. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We will be right back. We got a lot of stuff to cover.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Skip Tracing, Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire.
Hey guys, okay, so we're going to do a quick intro with me and my co-host. We're so excited. Today is Friday. My name is Bettina. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. I am a real estate investor. I mainly do fix and flips. So if you have any deals, make sure you send them over my way. We are looking for flips all the time, and even JVs. So if you want to partner up on a wholesale deal, please send them over to me. You can find me on Facebook. I'm actually linked on this video, I guess up, and Instagram. You can find me Bettina Hernandez Official, and go ahead.
So I am Katie Apperson. I am a real estate agent that works primarily with investors. I am majorly looking for deals right now in DFW. I've got a handful of investors that are working on flipping, and I'll find them properties, they flip them, and then I list them afterwards. So if you guys have any deals, I am looking right now. And also, if you're looking to list your property, let me know, and you guys can, I'm tagged on here too, so you can reach me there. Also on Instagram, it's Katie_Apperson, and it's just AP person. It's really easy. But we're constantly looking for deals for my investors too, so.
Awesome. And I'm Tyler Waldrop. I'm with Propelio. I do whatever needs to be done. You can contact me at tyler@propelio.com, and guess what? I'm looking for deals too. We all are. So let's get started. Everybody is going to say we're looking for deals.
I know.
Yes.
What's a deal?
Yes.
It depends.
It depends. It really does.
Let's start with Mondays with Daniel Moore.
Daniel's show. Man, I always love watching, his shows, and it was about bandit signs, but it wasn't really the actual typical bandit sign that you're used to thinking of. It's on the back of your car. So whenever you see the "We Buy Houses" on the back of the cars, that's essentially what he was talking about, how he scaled his business, some of the goods, the bads with that as well. And then he talked about a couple of other people that had about 300 cars, and just really what that looks like as a bandit sign that's pretty low cost, that they stay on the back of the cars. It's not something that code enforcement has to pick up or take or anything like that. So
Right. And he was getting very creative with he was sort of saying this is a guerrilla marketing, a way to guerrilla market and kind of get creative with what you do. And he ran into some problems at first, whether you put a number on there, and he would put like number 1 beside the, on the back of the car.
Yeah.
Each went into the type of vinyl that you choose. And again, he will give you all of this information, all the legal documentation, because if someone has a wreck and they say, well, my vision was blocked by the sign,
Right.
He has all that documentation. If you go to the show, it's in there. You can request it. You can get that information. He goes into the type of vinyl, everything, the size of the sign. So he decided to put extensions on the phone numbers. So when someone called that extension, he could track his metrics. Again, themes throughout.
And
track metrics.
It was really cool when he was talking about the extensions. When he was first saying it, I'm like, oh, okay, so people call that number and then type in the extension. But that's really not what happens.
Right.
People are calling in the number, and then they've written down the extension, and then you just ask them, hey, what was the extension that you had? And that's how you connect the people that are having that put on the back of the car to the people that are calling in. That's
Tracking
how
your
you get them
metrics.
paid. That's how you
Right.
get them
And
paid.
I think overall, people, it's just like another very creative way to do a bandit sign. It's a traveling bandit sign. So I think that I have not heard of that until he was talking about that. It's very amazing. And so, but the thing is, whenever he was trying to go back and figure out how to pay, all the people that were helping him with all these traveling bandit signs. I know he says what he would do is that depending on the deal, he would either pay the advertiser 10% of the wholesale profit or 3% of the sales price, whichever is less. So
right, and
I
that
guess
was
it just
important.
depends.
And one of the important things with, and I think both you guys would agree, with marketing and really being able to make that marketing itself be exponential, you have to have social proof.
Yes.
And if you guys saw the video, he had a woman in there and she had it on the back of her car and she was waving cash and she was like, I got paid. Again, to put this on the back of my car. So that was just another component.
Yeah.
And what was important about it was offer social proof. So it was be creative, follow rules, document it, and
Contact
offer
your lawyer.
social proof. Yeah, always.
Contact your
Again,
lawyer.
yes. Don't put a sign on someone's car until you know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
But
right.
I think that kind of wrapped that up in a bow. I think it was really important and interesting.
The really cool thing about this show, and I'll tell you guys, like throughout the weeks, whenever we go and we're on the rewind, there's always a theme, and it's never something that the shows mean to do.
Never planned.
Never planned. But this week has really been scaling. And he goes in verbatim and it's just like, this is how you start and this is how you scale it. And
Love
I mean,
it.
literally in the show, like that's what he's teaching you how to do is scaling that. So it was
Right.
definitely a theme throughout this entire week for all the shows.
Right. And Tommy, did you have anything that you wanted to add before we go on to the next show?
It kind of ties into what I went to college for, which was like quality control and process. Is getting a deal with the people that make the signs and just figuring out a size that you can just print out a whole bunch of the same and have them ready to go instead of just having a custom one for each car. You're gonna pay a lot more. So kind of figure out an average of what the car size is gonna be, and print in mass instead of one offer each time you get someone interested.
It's 13 inches by 20 inches. That's the size. Actually, that is the size that will fit most back windows.
All right. I think we're pretty good on this one.
Yep.
Boom.
Ready? Next one is me, and we are going to cover
Roughneck to Real Estate.
Roughneck to Real Estate, and we had Pat Hilton on as guest on that.
Singing for dollars.
Massive value.
If you guys don't know, Pat Hilton does jingles. So if you ever need a jingle, definitely reach out to Pat. But that's kind of what they did on the show is they were doing jingles and making some cold calls.
I thought this was sort of absurdist theater, but no, but
In a good way.
but in a good way, and it had a real point. Pat would get on there. Okay, so Corey would he'd play the messages of who called him. They would call him back, and immediately. And if you've ever seen Pat, he's very animated and he sings.
He is.
And he would sing with his guitar. He would make up a song immediately regarding whatever it was. Well, one of the first calls they did, they're like, Cleburne Police Department. And he's like, is your house for sale? And it's like, we have a live accident right now. And he's like, okay. But then he would leave a message. So they went through all of these calls. And he would, even if someone said no, he would say, hey, can Pat sing you a jingle? And Pat would start singing. And one guy was kind of an angry caller. And he's like, I don't have anything to sell, but I appreciate the jingle. By the end of the show, and the show was short, they got a hot lead, a guy that was going to buy. And the point kind of this show, the absurdity of it was, and the importance of what Corey does, and he does this every week, he makes these live calls. And if you're a new investor, it does not matter what you say, what you do, what your delivery is.
What you sing, like you could,
If you don't call them, you're not going to get the sale. And that was the point. And that was my takeaway. Did you guys have any other takeaways other than like
For
really
me,
amazing music?
overall, every single week, whenever the show is airing, is that he proves that there's something in every
There's
lead.
no right or wrong way to say
exactly.
or sing.
Or creative way.
Yeah.
I mean, just be creative and be
So
yourself.
any novice out there, anybody who's new, who really is afraid to make a cold call, watch Corey's show.
It's just there are, and I do this too. Like when you're making cold calls, like what are you saying? What are you doing? Am I saying this right? Like what if they, how do I combat this and blah blah blah? And it really doesn't matter. Like it just pick up the phone and make those calls. And this show definitely proved that.
No script. That doesn't matter about you don't have to have a script. So if you're nervous about calling, Watch it. Thomas is actually, Tommy, Tommy, you've actually been on the show making live calls before with him. And I don't think you had ever done that. And that was interesting to see, too, someone who had never done that. And then you just make a call. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, 1 or 2 times you're good.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to add on this one?
Not on that one.
How
What about you, Steve? Oh, there's no Steve.
Tommy.
Oh, there's a Steve. Propelio Steve. That's right.
We're good?
We're good.
Okay.
On to Quest Talks. They actually had Brittany Washington on, and they talked a lot about, I mean, it was about title and just kind of, you know, what roles are in title, what escrow means, what escrow officer is, stuff like that. And it was, I think people just don't understand title. I think people know you get it under contract, and then it's like, now what do I do? And I do feel that it's make your cold calls, do this, do your marketing. There's all kinds of stuff on that, but it's like once you get it under contract, what does that look like? And Brittany is definitely the go-to person on to talk to about any of that stuff. She's amazing with title. So.
And Bettina, let me ask you, because you buy houses and stuff like that, and be honest, do you know what a title actually is? And I would not have been able to tell you and actually say without having watched this. Do you know? I mean, you know what it is, but can you define it?
Title policy?
Whatever.
A title policy? Yes. I mean, it's covering the actual title of what. I mean, no, because I just learned this. It covers what it was in the past.
Yes. That when she said that, it's like you know these things. So most insurance, it's you're covering something for in the future, right? Well, a title policy is for something that was in the past.
If it comes up.
Yeah, if something comes up and there's an error that pops up that nobody knew about.
Or a lien.
And the title policy covers that. So I loved that I think it was Brittany that said that, you know, it was for something that was in the past. And
it's
so
covering
true,
any issue that was in the past that could come up. And they also went over, you know, the cost of a title policy can be as little as $875 per 100,000. That's regulated by the state. And then they both gave their advice or their opinions on the current market conditions, because there's been a lot of talk about stagnation. I'm sure both of you guys have seen this, and they come from, again, a unique perspective. But they both said, yeah, there's stagnation, but guess what? That's opportunity. Right. So don't be afraid of that.
Yeah.
You know, that's opportunity.
Man, every time I personally, like when people talk about, you know, the market leveling out or, you know, there's a dip in it, that's when I always do better. I don't know why, but every time, you know, every August, September, October, when there's a dip, like I always do better, like in that time frame. So
do you notice that, Bettina, in San Antonio, are there different cycles maybe than in Dallas? Or
heck yeah, I feel like I mean, and everybody that's been on that talks about that, there's definitely cycles, different cycles. I mean, in whether the season, the market, the time, I mean, location, zip codes, I mean, it's for sure. I do see that 100%.
Right, it's just finding what's hot at the time or finding your niche, going from there.
Yeah.
And they said, I mean, if you guys have any title questions, I mean, definitely reach out to Brittany. She's super helpful. Like I use Brittany here, and so
is she in San Antonio? I mean, can she go out like?
I think she's all over. I think she's all over
like
Texas.
Okay.
But you know, she's been. I think she just did, you know, a deal with Grant Kemp on some foreclosure stuff. But if you guys have any questions about what title, ask her, because she will definitely help
and
you.
If you have any questions about self-directed IRAs,
oh
Quest,
man, yeah,
they know what they are doing, and Haley is very, very good. They know this. This is very important. If you want investors, rich people have self-directed IRAs. That's a very good place to approach getting money.
Tommy, did you have anything? I know that's your favorite show.
I'm good. You guys got it.
Amen.
All right. So, on to the next one. So
Casey and
Ryan. Man, I definitely feel we should do like another episode. Did y'all have a call after to set up for tools and resources?
We'll get there. I'm not on camera.
Okay, so next one that we're going to talk about is Casey and Ryan, and we had Carlos Reyes and Sal from Phoenix, Arizona. And great show, guys. And reminder, if this show encourages you to go back to any of the shows that we cover, make sure that you put hashtag replay rewind. And then also make sure that you sign up for all of these amazing notes that Tyler has put together for us. Amazing. I mean, you definitely need to sign up just to even see them. They're so awesome. And that is propelio.com/rewind. So on this one, Carlos and Sal pretty much goes into exact detail on how to grow a multi-million-dollar business. And so my favorite thing is that they talked about whenever you're first starting, one of the first seats that you need to fill is an acquisitions. And so in order for you to pull back and to start working, not anymore in the business, but on the business, to make sure you start scaling. And I know Tyler and Katie, I mean, that was...
Scaling, and that's been a theme. Scaling, and I thought also helping others was a thing. And Sal said that at the very end, the last thing that he said was set intentions and release expectations. But they kind of start out by, when you first start a business, and again, the shows later in the week also go into this. When you first start out in a business, Bettina, I'm sure you've experienced this, Katie as well, you do everything. You are the jack of all trades.
Yeah.
You are the salesperson. You are the CRM. You are everything. Then, when you need your time, when your time is more valuable, and it is more valuable, you've got to hire someone to do what is the money-making thing, what is the revenue-generating activity. That's going to be sales acquisition, someone who can close.
Right.
And they go into, and again, we're just doing kind of the nuggets and the outlines of these shows. And the notes have very detailed information on this and the shows, and they are really just rapid fire with information. And they go into exactly what you need to do, exactly the questions you need to ask, what you need to look for. And they gave a story about when they're interviewing someone.
That was like one of my bigger takeaways when he was, I'm assuming that you're talking about the like, what's your biggest asset as a salesperson?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he came into saying, he asked the question, like, what's your biggest asset as a salesperson? You know, and people will say, like, I'm building rapport. And they're like, okay, so, you know, you always hear this, sell me the pen, but his was the water fountain. And then you've got to go in, and most people will go into a hard sell of selling the pen, as opposed to, I mean, it's almost like put the pen away and build rapport of why someone needs the pen. Do they need the pen?
Right.
And that was like, it's really interesting because I've heard that over and over and over again. Sell me this pen, and it's always a hard sell.
Well,
always.
Right, and their point was, okay, so people are going to tell you in an interview what you want to hear. What is your best asset? Building a rapport. Okay, sell me this water fountain, he said specifically. And they'll immediately go, buy this water fountain, da-da-da. And he's like, okay, you just told me your biggest asset was being able to build a rapport.
Right.
So when I put you to the test, when I threw you off,
you didn't.
You failed. So whatever. And he said, again, that person may not then be a salesperson. Don't dismiss them immediately, but you got to throw trick questions in there. You've got to throw things that really show who people are and not just what they tell you.
Yeah.
I think for me, my biggest takeaway is because, I mean, we have heard whenever you're trying to start a business or whenever you're trying to expand your business,
scale,
and hiring, he was actually saying that social media has been his place to find all of his team.
And not where you would normally think to
like
go.
Indeed, Monster,
Indeed.
not those typical places.
Exactly. And so I was like, wow, that's interesting to me, because for me, whenever I started looking, initially it was on all those sites, because you would think that they would, you know, but I really liked hearing that, and then them really, they tested it out. And so in majority, of course, they did find people in those sites, but the people that did last longer were from Facebook.
Well, if they and he said if they follow you, they know your culture. They know your core values. And I mean, they really, again, they just give fantastic information. They're on it. They have their own podcast, but it's a great show.
Right.
I would almost rather find someone on Facebook, because I would rather Facebook stalk them and figure out, you know, what their interests are, who they like, you know, and
Right.
kind of get
Your own due
get to know
diligence.
their,
Right.
you know, I know Facebook isn't always, you know, what you see is what you get type thing. But I would almost rather, like, how do they have their presence online? You know, how are they going to be type thing?
And
So
one thing they said, and all the shows in the past have said it together, say it in unison: be slow to hire
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
quick
They all
to
say that.
fire.
they all
Yes.
say that.
They all say that.
And I have fallen a victim of that, though. I mean, because we have, you know, a big heart, we want to help them out, but that is so true. And now I fire them like
Every show has
2
said
days,
that
and
too.
I'm like, done. I'm done.
They're like,
Now
you
you're
have
the
a big
ice
heart.
queen.
oh,
You're
girl, I fire so fast.
You're like, those shoes don't match that purse. Bye. I don't care if you can sell.
Oh, Tommy, do you have anything? Is this all, are we all going to say no on
yeah,
Tommy?
I'm great.
He's
I'm
good.
wonderful.
He's
Okay,
good.
okay.
He's good. So who's going to take us to break?
I am. Yeah, let's go ahead and head into break, guys. Please don't go anywhere. We got a lot more shows to cover today. Stay tuned.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Rewind, where we are going over all of this week's shows and topics on Propelio. So we're just going to dive right in. Real Estate Power Hour, say that 12 times fast, is with Daryl and Steve Rosenberg. And this was the first show, right?
Premiere show.
This was the first premiere
Yay.
show. I think I guess I say this with all the darn shows. I don't know. I'm really going to enjoy this show. So it was an intro, you know, to them, kind of getting to know these guys. But then they also talked about some of the mistakes that investors make,
and that they made,
and that they
don't
made
make
going
because
through the
they
process.
did. Right.
Yeah. It was. I'm excited to have these guys on because I know that they do a lot. So.
Well, and they're both kind of, well, Steve is definitely like a Steven, whatever. He's a dynamic personality, and they come at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Steven is a pilot, or he still is, and he was a pilot. And then Daryl is in finance, or like hard money lending, and so they approach this from here's the mistakes we made when scaling,
yeah.
and when we started out, and what we would have done could we go back. And one of the things they said, which we've heard so many times, work backwards.
Man.
Work backwards.
They always, and who was it? I think it was Casey and Ryan. I almost said Daniel. When Casey and almost again Ryan on their show
Was Elizabeth Gold. Elizabeth Gold was the guest, and she said, be who you want to be
in 12 months.
Right.
And then imagine who that is and act like
Correct.
that person.
Right.
And this is basically, you know, I mean, they're saying the same thing. Like, have a vision of what you want, who you want to be, and what do you want to work for. And I think when we talked about this show yesterday, I said, it was told to me a couple weeks ago, you know, if you don't know where you're going, like you don't have a navigation to get there. You can't put it in your GPS if you have no
Right.
idea where your destination is. And that was a big mistake. I think it was Steven was saying that they just started buying. Like they had no idea what they were buying, what they were doing, what their end game was or anything. And they just were doing deals. And he goes, I don't know if they were good deals or not. Like,
Right. And let me ask you, Bettina, because you do this too, like, so from a personal perspective, when you went in and you started your business, did you have a goal, or did you just start buying based on this is a good deal? And do you know what I mean?
I actually had both. I had a goal, but nothing like I have a goal now. A goal is just to make sure I was providing for my family because I was in a really bad place financially, and we were in a really hard time in our lives. And my goal was we just need to get over that hump. And so, but at the same time, I was trying my best to know what was a good deal, what was not. I was still figuring it all out at the same time. But
and so stepping back from that now, do you see where you should have planned? You wish you had? What would you have done different?
Yeah. I mean, I think even now, and everybody talks about it. I mean, everybody, especially these, to me, I look up to them because obviously they've paved the road for us, and now they're coming back and they're telling us, this is what I did, don't do this. And for me, I will listen to that all day long because I want to try to avoid as many mistakes. We're still going to go through them. We're still going to learn through them, learn from them. But I have so many things that I'm just like, don't do that because I did this. And I don't do that because I know.
Please, I'm telling you.
Please.
And Ryan actually made this point on the show too. He's like, okay, so you're in real estate, you're buying. Learn the TREC contract.
Yeah.
Just learn the TREC contract.
It was interesting because I think he said that he was, not Ryan, Stephen was saying that he teaches continuing education and stuff like that. And I don't think people realize that, like as a traditional real estate agent, there's a lot of brokerages that do not teach you the contract. It's one of those things, like people assume that because you get like your real estate license that you should know all of this stuff, and it's not. Like you get your real estate license and you learn about freaking meets and bounds, and you don't learn
how many
about any
square
of this
feet are in
other
an
stuff.
acre? 43,560.
560. Like, I mean, it's just something that, and I know that because like I would have forgotten that if I wouldn't have, had to have used it at some point. But I've used Google to find that out. Like, But I mean, there's a lot that there's not a lot of education out there when it actually comes to knowing the ins and the outs of the contract.
Let's be honest.
You have to do your own due diligence.
There is a lot of education. It's just taking the time to do it. And one of the things that they mentioned, but he didn't say, which drives me crazy, he said he was teaching a continuing education class, and he said, what are the 7 protected classes? And I was like...
So when he
didn't say it, so I was like, okay, what are they? Race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, and national origin.
So when he went through and he was like, what's the 7 protective statuses? I'm like, what are the rest of them?
Well, he didn't say, and I was like...
No, he didn't say them, but it made me go back and think, like, what are they, right? And I just say, like, just be a good person.
I think the lesson there is you're gonna forget, so just look them up.
Right, just Google everything. And one of the big mistakes they said if they had to do it over, or one of the big lessons they would teach new investors is know how to determine accurate comps and rehab costs. And again, what's going to be great about this show is they started out one-man show, doing everything, learned mistakes. They had to release, let go, learn how to hire people. Again, Sal and Carlos said this too. You're never going to be able to hire 100% of you. Even if you hire 70% of you, let it go. So watching this show, because they're going from day one, and they're going to show you how they became who they are and how they became successful.
So I know some of the shows have themes and then some of them, don't. Are they really going to talk about basically investor mistakes, or is this just going to be about their journey, what they've done? Because I think it's going to be.
Ryan's going to be more in charge of that, but it's going to be more progressive, I would imagine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And this or they'll come up with a great topic, and they're interesting, whatever. And I know he said in a future show, and this may be the next show, they're going to go into the biggest mistakes that landlords make, which they've gone over in REI Divas. But it's a great show.
So that it may be a mistakes show.
Yeah,
like what?
Don't do this.
Yeah.
We did it, don't do this.
Which I think is really important because we always hear about, this investor made a $300,000 assignment fee, or I did this deal and it was so amazing.
It's all good.
And they don't ever want to talk about like the shitty deals that they did, or the bad deals, or the bad part about your business. And you're going to have that. Like that's going to be a thing.
like it's good to know that we're all human, right? No one's perfect, and we all and we've covered it several times here too, because of the interviews that our hosts have had. You learn a lot through that middle portion, whatever it is, that valley, that hard time.
The middle of the journey.
The middle of the journey. I think Elizabeth did go.
They've all said it.
Yes,
Grant
they've
said
all
it.
said it.
All of them said it. Sal, all of them, Carlos.
And I 100%
the middle
agree
size.
too. 100%.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I'm grateful for it.
Oh,
I'm
you
so
learned.
grateful.
Well, and again, another theme throughout all the shows too is abundance mindset.
Right.
Even if it's a failure, even if it's a mistake, even if it's something bad, don't sit in it, don't simmer, learn from it. Just like you're saying, you have problems, you learn from them. Look at the opportunity that they were. So that show, stay tuned. That's going to be a great one. And we'll just go ahead and move on to Mr. Grant Kemp with Grant, Teach Me
Something. Let me pull this up. Yes, so Grant, Teach Me Something. He had James Check-ins on. And so for me, just pretty much going over the 3 critical elements of choosing the right type of insurance and the best insurance agent. And I think this is definitely really important. It's like, and only because I've learned the hard way. And someone just was like, yeah, you just need a builder's risk policy and I'll just remove all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, because it's cheaper and, but we almost had an incident and I'm like, is my insurance going to cover that? I was freaking out.
Grant talked about one of his students is going through that now, where he had a builder's policy on there, and there was a fire, and I believe he said it was a total loss. I could be wrong on that. And he was like, I've never been through this. Like Grant was saying, he's like, I've never been through a fire. Like what? And he was asking James, what's the process on this? Like, how does that happen? Like, what does this look like? And so it was, that was one of the things that they talked about on there. And they
talked about on that, like if you have a total loss, you get the cash value right up front, and then they hold the depreciation or the deferred depreciation until you determine what you want to do. Do you want to sell it to an investor? Do you want to keep the property? Whatever it is. But James is also, he's very good. And the point that he made, and I think everybody can see this from a mistake, even when I've shopped for insurance for my properties, I think, what are the cheapest premiums I'm going to get?
Yeah.
And when I get a referral, and you think about it, when you ask for a referral on Facebook, what do the referrals usually say? This guy gave me a great deal.
I saved
on
this.
What?
I saved this.
On the premiums.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved that, like what he was saying, that when you hear people say like, oh, I pay this much a month in insurance, he goes, no, the question that you should be asking is, have you had to have a claim with them? It doesn't matter like what it does matter what the premiums are, obviously, on a monthly basis, but what really matters is how they treat you during a claims process, because that's when you're really, really going to need them. Mm-hmm. And again, all of these shows, and every week that we sit here and we watch these shows, there's things that you sit here and you're like, oh, duh.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Why didn't I think about that?
Why didn't I know
right?
that? Yeah, and this is in Grant's, I guess this season he's doing 3 steps too.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was 3 steps to choosing proper insurance, which the 3 steps were: knowledge is power, look past the company name and dissect the dollar. Knowledge is power. He just said one of the rating agent, there are several rating agencies like Moody's, S&P's, but the most important one that you can go to look to see how your insurance company rates is called AMBEST.
Yeah.
AMBEST. That rates the insurance company. Look past the company name. If I told you to name 5 insurance companies now.
You name all the big ones.
Yeah, Progressive, Farmers, Geico, all those.
Yeah.
Flow.
Because they have huge, because they have huge marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they're the best for you. And dissecting the dollar, and this was where he said it's critical about the insurance agent himself. An insurance agent shouldn't just be, and Bettina, like you were saying, when you had a question and you were afraid, was this going to be covered? What an insurance agent should do, they should act more like an advisor and an advocate. They should go, okay, you're wanting to pay the lowest premiums, but let me tell you, in my experience, and again, they said do your due diligence and choose someone very specifically that has dealt with what you do. If you own single-family rental houses, if you own multifamily, have someone that has that experience. They may say, you want the lowest premiums, but let me tell you why that may not be a good idea.
Yeah.
Right.
You need, they should be an advocate and an advisor. And just like in that case, Bettina, like you were saying, you should have been able to call or should have felt comfortable or known that you could have called the insurance agent and said, hey, what do I do here?
Right.
Am I covered right? What's going to be the process?
I think like my most favorite part too was, it depends too where you live or where you're located, where your properties are located. For me, they go over the 3 most common property insurance claims. Especially here in Texas is wind, hail, and water. And I'm like, man, and it's so true. And sometimes, I think as investors, because I do hear it a lot, we're trying to get the most cheapest thing because you want to get in and out and try to save as much money as possible, so you have more in your pocket. And that goes with insurance too, because that's how I was initially. I'm not going to lie, be completely honest. I wanted the cheapest thing. But again, when I had that incident almost happen, like a bunch of hail, and I had 6 houses, I'm like,
You're going to wish you didn't choose the cheapest thing.
I know.
That's
the thing.
what James was saying was, wind, hail, and water, specifically in Texas. So if anything, don't skimp on those.
I mean, I don't know why anybody, and he was talking about the deductible, for the roof.
Right.
We've got freaking hail this size of baseball. Like, why on earth? Like, at some point in time, like, you're going to be hit with hail. If it's, it obviously depends on how many houses you have, but I couldn't imagine having, multiple houses and having a hailstorm come through. And
again, when you're shopping for a policy, ask what will happen if that's the case.
Yeah.
Again, great show. He's doing 3 steps too. I'm not sure what he's doing next week, but Grant's always informative, crisp, precise, to the point. So we'll go ahead and move on to commercial cash flow. And I loved this show. So do you guys mind if I take this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask.
it.
I'm just going to do it.
You just do it.
So, again, this show, we're going to rate this show as someone who's very experienced.
Yes.
Which I loved this show. It was like an hour and 30 minutes. And it was an hour and 30 minutes of very information-heavy slides, PowerPoint presentation about cost segregation. And they had on Brian Bigham, and I don't know who the other guy was. I don't think he wanted to give away his information, but Brian is his intermediary, and they work for a company called Madison Spec. So in the commercial cash flow show, obviously, they go over commercial assets and multifamily, and I think Ronnie and Kenny both invest in multifamily of different sizes. So what cost segregation is, if you have, first of all, depreciation is, you take the value of whatever you have, a house, $100,000. If it's a house, single-family house, or a multifamily asset, it depreciates over 27.5 years. With straight-line depreciation, you take $100,000, divide it by 27.5, and that's what you get to deduct off your taxes every year. I'm not an accountant or CPA, but whatever, Google it or ask somebody. With other commercial assets, office, industrial, it's 39 years.
Okay, I was
okay,
like,
so
I couldn't remember if it was 37 or 39.
Right, and so you hear a lot of times, like if you're wanting to approach someone to buy like a shopping center that they own and they've owned it for like 25 years, they've maxed out kind of their depreciation. That's why. But so what cost segregation is? Let's just say you have an office building, and it's a $20 million office building. Okay. You're going to have to depreciate $20 million over 39 years. What cost segregation is literally segregating every single individual item in and outside of that property and putting it on its own depreciation schedule. For example, doorknobs, doors, carpet, drapes, cabinets, countertops.
Landscaping.
The interior things, they can be depreciated over 5 years. Exterior things, pavements, carports, exterior lighting, landscaping can be depreciated over 15 years. Why does that matter? How does that save you money? Well, say it's a $20 million building and you're able to get $5 million of it to depreciate over 5 years. That's huge.
Right. I watched this show. And I'm sitting, and I love the commercial cash flow show because the multifamily fascinates me. How you can just like raise the value of properties, by, I don't know, charging higher rent, whatever.
Right.
I'm just being very simplistic whenever I say that. And I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm like, holy cow! Like this is way over my pay grade. Like this
Well, it's
is
advanced,
way.
it's advanced level, but that's the
Man,
point.
It was very knowledgeable though, because I mean he said, so you can, and correct me if I'm wrong again, because it was kind of hard for me to like grasp some of this stuff, but you can retroactive back, and you can do
look back.
look back, and you can do 2017. But then he was saying, there's times to do it and there's times not to do it. If you're just a value add person where you come in and you add value to it and then you raise the value and then you sell it, that may not be a good time to do it. But if you're going to hold on to a property for longer, then you can go through
3 years or more. Yeah, if you're holding a property for 3 years or more, that's when it's a good time to do that. And there's also there are so many specific details in there. And again, it's all in the notes. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting is the government actually determines and has criteria for what is an active real estate professional and what is a passive real estate professional. Active real estate professional, you have to be 750 hours or more in
a year,
750 or more hours a year. And that's just keeping track of that. And then they went into estate planning. How if you inherit a property that your grandfather bought for $50,000 50 years ago and it's worth $10 million now, and you all of a sudden get hit with this heavy tax burden, you got to plan for that. And Bettina, I know you're really familiar with the IRC code 199A. Could you go into that?
Oh my God!
I'm telling you, like
no, I mean literally.
I was watching the show and I'm like, God.
Yes, could you tell us about bonus depreciation?
Oh, freaking somebody else! Like this is.
But it's again, all levels. If you are a beginner, if you are an expert and you know what you're doing, the point of this, and if you're a beginner, the point of this was get the right person. Get a CPA that is experienced in what you're. If you're going to get a cost segregation study, get a company that specializes in that. Really do your due diligence. Really know what this company does. Make sure they do this specific thing, because a cost segregation study is an IRS approved method.
Yes.
You have to have an approved engineer and appraiser walk the
Well,
property.
he did say you don't have to. He did say you don't have
but
to.
then you're going to have to defend it.
But then you do have to go back and you have to defend that. He goes, if you want to do it yourself and then somebody comes back and says something, you need to have some oomph behind, I'm going to do it myself. What does that look like? And then he gave the suggestions of them. But I mean, it was like, but here's the thing with Propelio. Like, they put out a ton of content, and like what you're saying, it could be beginner. There is something literally for everyone. So if you are in multifamily or you're just getting started in multifamily, like this is definitely the show that you need to be watching, because at some point in time, whether it's now or 2 years from now, you're going to need to know this stuff.
Right. Had
need to
either of you
know.
ever heard of cost segregation?
No.
And so again, it would be in a bigger
sense,
property,
though.
but
It makes sense, though.
Right. And when you get into these bigger numbers, you really have to do that. Bettina, was there? I mean,
yes.
Again, it's very complicated. Yeah, she said yes. I learned a lot. And then again, that's my point. However complicated it is, there's always a lesson, even in a small level.
And I actually do have something that I did highlight, and it kept with me, because whenever I'm listening to all these things, especially with this show, it's above what I kind of still see myself obviously as a beginner. I'm not as wise as most are. So this is very new to me, but very interesting. I love learning, especially this is where I eventually want to put myself and my family, in the future. I want to passively have a commercial building, whatever it is. So what I like about this that I learned was it applies to all real estate owners who are current income taxpayers. So that's estates, trusts, individuals, corporations, partnerships, and LLCs. So I think, which is great, it's not just for like one specific, type of entity, So I think I took that because I understand that part.
Yeah, well, no, in estate planning, like I said, there were estate planning. They have all the slides. It's critical. It's very interesting. And one of the things they asked, which is really not having to do with that, but someone put in a question to Kenny: do you invest in opportunity zones? And what opportunity zones are like an area that's going to be redeveloped.
Right.
Yeah.
And so their point on that was it depends.
All of it. That's what they all
depends.
say.
Is this an area where you're going to be able to go in and purchase the majority of the property, and your purchase will actually redevelop the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be purchasing just enough and have to wait till it gentrifies?
Yeah.
So again, it depends.
You don't want to be the first person in an opportunity zone. You'd rather be like the second
unless
or
you're
third.
buying the entire neighborhood and you are going to be the market shifter, right?
Buying the entire neighborhood.
Like, does anyone have a trailer park that I can redevelop? But that, again, watch it, absorb it, learn.
Even if it is above your
everything.
pay grade, watch it a couple times because
Yeah, put it on.
it was definitely
like
over
rewind,
mine.
pause, loop.
Yeah.
And make sure you get the notes too, guys, because I mean, there's a
There's
lot
like
of
3
a lot of
pages of notes, I
information, but
think.
it's very
It's a lot.
detailed, and so Tyler was
there.
able to definitely capture a lot of that. So make sure you sign up for that link, propelio.com/rewind. And whenever you do go back to that show, make sure you put #replay_rewind so that they know that we sent you over there.
Yes.
Take us to break.
Yay! So next break, guys, and then when we come back, we're going to be covering the Real Estate Business Mastery Show with Elizabeth and Debbie Camacho. So make sure you stay tuned. Please don't go anywhere, guys. We got a lot more stuff to cover.
Yes.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
Hey guys, thank you so much for staying tuned with us. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump right back into it, and we're going to be covering the Real Estate Business Mastery Show. And we had the guest, Charles, and he pretty much goes over describing his journey from being an investment banker to a real estate investor. And what he does is he goes into detail on how exactly he scaled. Again, another theme. So scaling from a one-man operation to just pretty much a powerhouse wholesale real estate company. And I want to scale, so I want to know what all their tips and tricks and secrets are. So for me, what my takeaway was, and I really liked it because he definitely went into giving some free tools and resources. And of course, that's what we like to learn and hear from other people who are really making it happen. And so when he goes over his wholesaling business, his consistent 2 components are marketing and sales. And
That's
it.
what a wholesale business is. It's marketing and sales. Everything in between is the tool to get you there. Can you generate leads, and can you turn those leads into closes,
Right.
or can you turn those leads into deals? And he said basically you have a marketing campaign, you have a phone, you have something to store records, and then you have sales. And that's it. But what he did do, and it's in the notes, and it's in a spreadsheet method. He went into specific, like, if you are a beginner, and again, he was an investment banker, and he started investing in real estate while he had a 9-to-5 job.
A lot of people do.
A lot of people do.
People
And
do.
his first deal was a subject to that he sold on a
Yeah,
wrap.
yeah.
So it's like, just
wait.
dive in, just head first. And again, he's a really highly intelligent guy, very analytical, and he studied a lot. But he took action, and he went into, like, if you're a beginner, you're going to have to start with free resources.
right.
So for the marketing free stuff, Zillow, for sale by owner, Craigslist, driving for dollars. What phone system can you use? A Google account, Google Voice for your records, Notepad, just literally a notepad, Google spreadsheets. Who's your Salesforce? You.
Yep.
That's
it.
it.
I love that he was, for me, like the automation, like when he was talking about automation, that I don't think people really understand like how much of a big time saver it is to automate your business. There's the, I'll say upfront cost. and by cost I mean time, setting everything up is a lot. Like I've done a lot to automate like my business. Because when you've got 12 million different things going on, it's hard to remember this, and this. So I'm getting there. My whole business is almost fully automated with that. And I love that he was talking about that. I mean, you're automating, your contracts, your pricing, outgoing emails, and then the follow-up. I mean, if you guys are having where you want to reach back out to some of these people that you're trying to get, the deals from, whether they are investors or they're actual sellers, I mean, you don't have to drop RVMs. Like I know Corey drops RVMs. You don't have to drop RVMs
Remote voicemails,
like that.
just,
But
a
yeah,
lot of people
you
on
can
shows
do-
say acronyms or whatever, and then RVMs for
ringless voicemail.
Yeah.
So if you want to do a ringless voicemail, you could just easily set them up on, a once every 3 month and just be like, hey, just checking in with you. Like that's an automated follow-up system that you can set months in advance, and you can set that up. Like it's real easy.
Even Carlos and Sal covered that. I mean, because if you're not automating, if you don't have a system, you're going to find leads that are going to fall through the cracks, guys, and you're going to be losing money. And I mean,
Steve on the Real Estate Power Hour, they said that too. You don't automate. You can only wing it for so long until it collapses. And interestingly, what I've noticed, most of them, they were like, what CRM system do you use? Podio. They were all like, there's no, like, Podio's customizable. I think
not a
Casey,
fan of Podio.
Well, I mean, again,
I know
whatever.
they
He was just like,
mentioned
don't get into the
system.
weeds.
Yeah.
Right. Don't get into the weeds about trying to design, reinvent the wheel.
You need something.
You need something, and a lot of times, like Google Sheets will only get you so far.
Right.
And I've never used. Okay, so I have Google Sheets set up, but when I have my leads that are coming in, they go into Google Sheets, but then I have a CRM. So the Google Sheets is like a backup thing.
I always have
Like I have that,
Same
right?
thing.
But I don't understand how people use or don't have a CRM. And I've asked mega real estate agents that have brokerages. I'm like, what CRM do you use? Oh, just Google Sheets.
He went over four that you can pay for. He said
Yeah.
Podio, FreedomSoft, REI Pro, Zoho. I'm sure there's plenty. Do you use one, Bettina? Do you have one?
Podio.
You use Podio and that works for you? Or
I know Carlos and Sal mentioned Hercules. That's the one they built out.
Right, that's the one they've built out.
That they have.
So it is that the Hercules system is Podio that they have specifically designed for a scalable business.
I use Pipedrive, and Pipedrive is similar to Podio, where you can you have to link in stuff. So I've got like an email system, a phone system.
It's all integrated together.
It's integrated together. And to me, it's much more user friendly than Podio.
Is it more specifically for agents, or can you use it as an investor? Awesome.
So you literally build out your pipeline. So I have a pipeline for sellers, for people under contract. I've just built one out for wholesale, and then I have one for regular buyers, like traditional buyers, which I think I'm just going to get rid of because I don't really have that anymore. So
and I don't want to take for
granted.
I say I don't want to take for granted that people like a CRM. That's a customer resource management, and basically what people may know that it may seem like you're talking down, but what that is basically it's a system of leads coming in. Where does that go? What person handles that? Is it warm, hot? Follow-up calls, all that. So it manages your business.
But find your own. Find what works for you. A lot of people really like Podio. I wasn't a fan of Podio. I chose this. There are tons and tons of CRM systems out there as well that you can use. So, and there's lots of paid services. There's lots of free services. There's cheap. And then the big thing for him, it's, again, slow to hire, fast to fire.
Quick to fire, and the first person you're going to need to hire is that acquisitions manager.
Yep.
100%.
And one of the great things that he did is he didn't just say like here. He gave specifics. So somebody said, okay, well, how do you? Because somebody brought in a question. Well, how do you hire someone? What tools do you use? He said, okay, so use personality test, the DISC test, the predictive index test, the Colby test. All this is in the notes, all the links to these.
Right.
He gave specifics, exactly what he did. Somebody asked him about VAs, and again, a virtual assistant that could be your first
Yeah,
hire.
we do have a lot of acronyms on there.
Well, yeah, because and people take for granted a lot of time. People will throw out, they'll be like, oh, well, the ARV of this. It's like, well, people
That's
may
what
not
happens
know
on the
that.
commercial cash flow when they start
Right.
talking about a lot of this stuff. I'm like, wait, what?
Right, like IRS, who? But I mean, so, somebody said, well, where do you source your VAs? He said, there's something called My Outdesk, Riva Global, IVA, IVAS. All this is in the notes. He gave specifics, and what was good about him is, again, one-man operation to a successful business, and he whiteboarded this out. I mean, he actually got up at the whiteboard, drew it out, and
you copied it onto our spreadsheet.
yeah, and it's
on
all
here.
in the notes, so you can see it. And again, watching it, hearing his story, he addressed the audience directly, saying, "I don't care what level you are. Take from this what you need. If you're a beginner, take the how to get started part. If you're intermediate, take the mistakes I made and learn from them. Themes throughout the shows.
Yep.
And great. Again, scaling. And one of his things too was your purpose has to be about others.
Yep.
Sal said, everybody has always said, you really got to focus on others.
I think overall, like my favorite thing, why I am so in love with Propelio, because for me, I have every single person on their show. They have a niche and they're so good at it, and that's why they're so successful. Guys, if you're new, just know that this is your free mentor. I mean, these are people who are definitely killing it. I mean, they're killing it, and they're a part of Propelio, and it's free. And I wish I had this when I first started. This is just 3 years ago, but when I first found Propelio, what is that word where you just binge watch? Oh, I binge watch, but you need to know the amazing content and value that is here, and make sure you go back and rewatch it. If it speaks to you, go back and watch it.
And that's the purpose of our show, is to really, we're kind of tell you an overview of like a 30,000 foot view of here's what the shows are about. And you may go, oh, I really need to know that. Go to the notes, get the notes, watch the show, learn from it. We're really here to wrap it up so you can figure out what it is that you need and get it. And I mean, really, challenge, watch 1 week of the shows, and you will learn something.
Man,
you will learn an action step, something that you did not know that is extraordinarily valuable.
I know definitely, I know Bettina felt this way, but when Ryan asked us to be on the show, and it was like, yes. I mean, it is literally, it's, there's a lot of homework that goes, into this, and thank God you're here and you're helping us with this now. But it's there's a lot that goes into this, and you're right. There's so much, people pay tens of thousands of dollars for the content that Propelio is putting out there. The people that Propelio have on the show, I mean, this is a little off topic, but I mean, still, there's so much that Propelio is putting out. To me, there's just no excuse on where do I start.
Right.
I mean, I guess it is a little overwhelming.
But that's why we're here.
We're here. The whole point of the rewind is so that we can, go into each show every single week, and we'll go dive into the top, how many, with 3 or 4 nuggets, however we can actually go through them with our time slots. But then you'll get an idea of where, and we'll tell you, hey, if you're a beginner, you need to watch this, or if you're a commercial, you need to watch this. And so we're specifically doing it for y'all, for everybody. I mean, for us too. Hey, I'm taking advantage of it. I'm learning so much. And guess what? I'm going to learn and grow and scale following our mentors and people
and then so we have to follow up on your story, on everyone's, just to see how you've grown from it.
Well, let's move on to
just real quick, guys. Something that is just ties in. We were talking about disc tests. Coming in later, it's either next week or the week after that. The Power Hour show is going to be about the disc test. Daryl actually does a presentation on that for continuing education.
Yes.
And he basically does that presentation for us. And also, Brandon Richards just did a video for the Academy. It's about 15 minutes long. That is all about hiring VAs, the whole process, start to finish, what to do, what to look
Brandon
for.
Richards.
Brandon Richards, yes,
That's
sir.
a Brandon Richards video, yes. And Stephen actually did that presentation at one of the events, and I remember it, and it was fantastic. It's really, if he uses the same PowerPoint that he used there, He breaks it down. It's fantastic. So great show. And we're going to move on to Mr. Donovan Ruffin show.
I still want to say Ray Donovan. I just can't help myself. Okay, so he did flipping houses 101. And so here's something about Donovan's show. Like there's no fluff. It is boom, boom, boom to the point, and it's short and sweet, and it's just full of it's just full of content. I mean, there's just so much there. And he really dove into scaling the business on flipping houses. I mean, that's literally been the entire theme. I don't think we've had a full-blown theme like this, like this, where it's like where everything is just about scaling. So I'll tell you, it was funny when a big, huge aha moment for me listening to him was when he was talking about throw out the 70% rule, throw it out the window. If you ask someone, okay, I did a 50-60% deal, how many of those have you actually done? And they'll be like, I've done 2 or 3 this year, and I did really good, and I'm set. And he's like, yeah, but if you're at 70% and you want to scale up and you want to go from 5 to 10, you got to get out of that comfort zone of that 50, 60, 70% even, and be okay buying deals that other people aren't going to buy. And I love that he was saying that, because I was literally going over a deal, and it was like a 78% deal, and I'm like, oh, would my investor want to do this? Would he wouldn't? Da da da. And I was literally watching that show, and I'm like,
you told me about that.
I'm like, F it, we're just gonna buy it. I mean, but the deal, it was a good deal. Like, he would have made $30,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why aren't you gonna buy a deal just because of a percentage?
Right.
And this is something about Donovan's show that I think is that you guys will both agree with. It doesn't matter if this is your first day getting into real estate, or you have been doing this.
Yeah.
He gives knowledge and things that you just would not think of.
He went through the entire process of literally like buying it, listing it, how he listed slightly under. He gave some, tips on real estate agents, getting a real estate agent that, works with investors.
Right. And he went,
you know what I'm saying? And then, if the house doesn't move, you can take it off the market, list it with somebody else, and do this.
Well, he did. Yeah. He went over. He went over his. He said, this is my process that works for me. But the things he started with, okay, how do you find a contractor? Drive through a neighborhood. Look for work trucks and work vans, not new ones, because the new ones will be the general contractor who just get paid to manage the subs. He said, drive through a neighborhood where work is being done. Look for work trucks, work vans with no decals, meaning no flashy advertisement, because those people are working on referrals.
Right.
They're so busy they don't have time to put a decal. They don't need you calling. They're working.
But he did say, he goes, get someone that isn't available right now.
Right.
Get someone that's probably available, that they say that
they're
booked, because that they're good, but not too far booked out, I guess, like, a week or two. And I'm like, wow,
So true.
like there was a lot of just massive content. I mean, just so much in there.
One of the tips, and I thought, that's right, but you wouldn't think about that. He said when you're getting, the rehab order that you do a house, foundation, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, cosmetic drywall, floors, appliances, then staging. When you're getting the foundation done, if it needs foundation work, while they've got the foundation, while they're digging under there, go ahead and get a plumbing test run, so that if there is something wrong with the plumbing, you can pay the foundation guys a little bit extra to dig a little bit deeper instead of having to have plumbing guys come in and dig because they'll charge you. Just simple nuggets like that, and listing at $3,000 to $5,000 under the highest comp in the neighborhood to get some interest. And what did you guys think about this? He said, okay, so if you want to attract he called them hustling buyers agents. And I just I termed it more like driven buyers agents. He said, list your property at a 4% in buyer's agent commission, because typically you split 6%. It's 3%.
Have you ever done that?
Not yet.
Did you think that was a good idea?
I think that was a good idea. I mean, there's a lot of these things I'm like, I'm going to do that. And that's definitely one of them. For me, and I've actually done this once before, and I'm like, should I do this or not? But it's cool that knowing that he does this, which is what to do if a property is not sold after 30 days.
I know.
Yeah.
So cancel it, wait 48 hours, then relist it with a different broker so that it shows up as a new listing.
It has to be a different broker though, and a lot of people
Yeah,
don't.
not just a new agent.
A lot of people don't understand this. So when you sign a listing agreement, the listing agreement is not with the agent. It's not with the agent. It is with the brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
So you let it go. Like you have to
Right.
cancel it 48 days.
48 hours.
40.
Yeah. Yeah.
48
Hold it
hours.
for 48 days. Pay the holding cost. Just keep. Yeah.
That's where the verbiage really comes
Right.
in. So 48 hours, but you have to do it with it has to be with a new broker.
And then it shows up as a new listing.
But here's the thing: if you were listing $3,000 to $4,000, under what your ARV is or what the comps are, you really shouldn't have that problem.
Well, right. And he said, but again, he was going into if you do, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have.
Mhm.
He's
No,
like,
I have too.
because if you do, I have. This is what you do.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, Bettina, that you just would never think of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, never do a price drop. Because what does a price drop mean to you? Like, what do you think when you see a price drop on a house?
That there's something wrong and they just can't sell it.
See, but I disagree with that.
You're an
because-
agent, though.
Oh, no.
A secret agent.
But I have investors that they want to price high, right? Because they want to test the market to see what it's going to bring, okay? And I'm pretty conservative when I do, my pricing, my comps, all of that. And I'm like, investors aren't in the business of, letting stuff just sit on the market on the MLS, right?
Right.
And there are certain areas, I know that it's always it depends, but they want to price high to see what they can get. Those price drops, like that's different than if you have it priced accordingly. It's with what is in line with the comps. But I've had
get it.
houses before where there's just a shit ton of, excuse my language, just a ton of actives that are there, and there's just a lot of competition. You're in line with everything, but there's just a lot of actives. I've had that happen before.
Well,
it did sit.
And he addressed that as well. So if you do price it above the market, or say whatever price you
Yeah.
put, and it still doesn't sell after 30 days, still do what he says. Take it off the market. Take the feedback that you get in that 30 days. What's the feedback?
Yeah.
Right.
What are people saying about it? Well, they don't like the color. Repaint it.
Yeah, he was
he's
like, spend
take
$200
the
to
feedback. Even if
repaint
you
it.
overprice it, even if you want to set the market, take that feedback, list it as a new listing instead of dropping the price.
Yeah.
It's a psychological thing.
Right.
Again, and you're thinking about it from investors, but who's the end user?
No, I know.
An
I know.
emotional person, they're emotionally buying a property,
Yeah,
and they're thinking there's something wrong with the house because no one else wants to buy it.
yeah,
Right.
I agree.
And then his point, real quick, just to go over the numbers he was talking about with the scaling.
Oh,
He said
this
if you're
was
doing
amazing.
if you're doing 3 to 5 deals per year, and you're on the 60 to 50%, or you want to buy them low, Bettina, what do you buy at? What do you try to buy at? 60, 75?
No, to be honest, like 70% is not realistic anymore, I think. So I try to shoot for 75.
That's what,
75?
Yeah.
So he was saying, okay, so whatever, and he said he buys at 80% because he buys from wholesalers.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, okay, the wholesaler has done all the marketing. They've paid for the marketing, so he'll buy it at 80%. If you buy 3 to 5 per year at your 50, 60%, and you get $30,000 profit on each one, say you sell 5, that's $150,000 a year
Yeah.
you've made. If he buys from a wholesaler at 80%, and he only profits $16,000, but he can buy 10 of those a month,
Yep.
that's $160,000 a month. That's $1,920,000 a year.
True.
That's scaling.
That
I know.
blew my mind.
When I was
That's
listening
scaling.
to the math, I'm like
but
what?
it makes so much sense
It
because
does.
people, I've come to the realization too. In the beginning, I was like, no, I want to stick to 70%. That's all I want. Do not send me anything else. But then it's hard because I do find my own deals. I do have an entire team that that I'm
Can you start finding them
scaling.
in Dallas? Just
So it's just hard, and it's really people are the sellers are getting more familiar. They're
Yep.
getting more educated. They're knowing what real estate investors are doing. Wholesalers they just know. Some of them do, some of them don't. But either way, whenever it comes to buying, I'm like, it's hard to find let's just do it. Let's just buy it at 75% or whatever it may be. We're still making more than what we had before. Come on.
Now, have you recently or within recent memory passed on a deal that you could have gotten for 80%?
Yeah.
You recently have.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
But
gone
only
back and
because-
looked at what it sold for or what it did? Or
Well, there's this one deal that I just passed up, and I'm still debating, but because an investor was working on it, and whenever I was asking him, I was grilling him on all the questions, and I know, like, hey, why are you just up and leaving this project? Like, what happened? And then finding out he didn't pull no permits. He had one of his guys do the foundation himself. And I'm like, I'm not going to touch this house. I'm sorry. For me, I can't. But then I'm looking at it. We're buying it at 150. The ARV is supposedly at 240. If we go in and finish it off, it won't be as much because we have our own team. But even if we put $20,000 to just finish, but again, like, I don't want to mess with the city stuff, permits, and then what if it comes back and
it's a whole that's a whole other bag of
different.
tricks.
That's what I passed on.
Yeah.
But anything else, like, I just put another property under contract, like, before I came here.
You guys, say you pass on a deal or pass on a house, do you go back and follow up on that house to see what actually happened with it? Because I do that.
I have thought about it, and I don't want people to think that I'm going behind their back. I've gotten a deal before where a wholesaler put it out and they didn't actually have it under contract. They put it out first, and we even went to the property and met at the property, and they couldn't get in. That's how I got, one of my deals that we're actually doing right now. The people showed up because they posted it in the Facebook marketplace, and they're like, you don't have an executed contract.
Wow.
They're like, you don't have signatures on the contract. And I'm like, why would you even mark this without an executed contract? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And they, for the owners, like, freaked out all because they didn't know they were wholesaling the deal. So there was a lot of stuff like these people like did really wrong. But I've thought about going back and following up with sellers.
And I don't even mean necessarily that. I'm saying, like, so say you didn't buy a house because the spread wasn't right, or you didn't come up with the numbers. But somebody else bought it, rehabbed it, and sold it.
Yeah.
And I will go back in, look at the MLS, see what it sold for.
I've done that.
And I know how much they had to pay for rehab because I've analyzed the house. That's what I'm saying.
See, I'm the
to
person
evaluate
buying
your
those deals.
process.
Yeah.
To evaluate, and the guy last week that Debbie interviewed, he said that. He said, evaluate your process of how you've done that. So deals you've passed up on, that's why I was wondering if you had looked back and gone.
I have.
And you did. Did the person profit? Did they lose money?
I mean, I've done it with past deals. This one is just, the one I just brought up.
Yeah, but I'm saying with past deals, did the person make money?
Yes. And I'm just like, man, I shouldn't have been so
strict. So what would you have
strict.
changed? Yeah, okay, so that's
I can't be strict anymore because, and I understand majority of what I get it, why we're going to try to stick to 70% because that's what a lot of our hard money lenders, that's what they lend on, is 70% of the ARV minus repairs, blah, blah, blah. So I get it.
But that's what we're trained on.
I know.
And that,
Markets change.
I'll tell you this, though. Like, coming from, like, the traditional side of real estate and not working with investors, like, we're trained. Like, this is how things have to be. This is how you have to market. This is what you have to do. And in reality, like, when I started to get into the investor side of things, I'm like, whoa.
You're like, you can put stickers on someone's back windshield?
No, but I mean, not even that. Like, why aren't they teaching real estate agents water list? Like, you don't think that there aren't $500,000 homes that you can pull on a water list, and these people know that they need to sell their house?
Golden nugget.
Like,
if you're an agent.
Oh my gosh!
We're
it's insane to me that they don't teach this stuff to regular real estate agents.
But do you think they know
the process?
But do you think they know? They
I don't
might
know.
not
I don't know.
They don't. Again,
I don't know.
Or they might not want to share.
A broker was what? Once a real estate agent. They got their training from et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My mother was a real estate broker. Isn't it Mother's Day this weekend?
Yes.
Or was it already
sure
Mother's Day?
is.
Happy Mother's Day, Mama.
But it's the same thing. Like we're taught to be, this is what you should do, this is what you should do, da 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 da. And sometimes, like, throw it out the window. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, you.
As an investor, now real estate agent, you do have certain policies and procedures that you have to follow. But yes, what you're saying is think outside the box.
You don't have to. Yes.
Look at Donovan's numbers. That makes so much sense, guys. I mean,
when he went over his numbers,
and
what
he
made a year, what he made an entire year is what he made in a month. I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So again, and he whiteboards it out every week. So
I know
always watch his show.
Jam-packed show, obviously. Can you tell? You know,
every level. Well, the show was like 20 minutes, and we talk about it longer than the actual show is.
It was 40. This one
was it?
This
okay,
one was,
well, the next show was 20 minutes.
But his shows are all. But there's so much content, and we're adding some fluff to. Like, we're adding the fluff that he doesn't have in his show.
Well, our own personal experiences with it.
But he really does. And this is only his second show.
Is it? Yeah. Well,
yeah,
he's great. And again, this one was Flipping Houses 101. Yeah. So that's basically the title of it. So
everybody needs to watch this one, guys.
Whatever level you are.
We didn't already tell you the whole entire show.
Right.
Whatever level you are, this is from beginner to expert. So we'll go ahead and move on to Mr. Texas with Mr. Jason Bible and Miss Kaylee McMahon.
So this show, it was really short. They really went over like their new additions to their portfolios, and I think where they were heading with this is they want to follow you guys or let you guys follow them through their deals. Where I'm buying this, I think Jason was saying that he's got some beach houses that he's acquiring. Kaylee's working on some apartments, that she's got.
Yeah, Jason's got 4 beach houses. Kaylee's buying an Airbnb. Or a house that she's going to do an Airbnb over at Love Field, and a 27. Jason's working on a 27-unit apartment complex.
Yeah.
This was kind of interesting. He said in Houston right now, duplexes are considered single family, and they're going for $80,000 to $110,000 per door for a duplex in Houston right now. So what they were doing is they were just going over deals that they haven't closed on them yet, but they're about to, and they're going to then, and so they sort of explained the deals, how much they paid, what were their terms, what they plan to do with it. And then in the future, they're going to give an update of, hey, did it work out like I thought?
So we're just following their journey.
Yeah. Let's learn from their mistakes. They're laying it out there.
Here's probably like the biggest that you can take away from the show was when Kaylee was talking about one of her Airbnbs. And this happened in October. And
October 12th.
If you guys don't have insurance or your insurance isn't the right coverage, I mean, this should tell you something, what she went through on one of her Airbnbs. So she had somebody staying at the Airbnb. They go through and they're vetted. They come in and they say, well, they decide to use a gun and shoot off some bullets. Well, it hit one of the main water lines, and it flooded 11 units.
Yes, and so this was an Airbnb that she owned.
And it had
big building.
And there was multi-units that was there. So they really go through. It's a really short episode. You guys can just go and it's like 20 minutes long. But she goes through like what the process that she went through, and her private insurance,
the commercial insurance for the building,
insurance,
and then Airbnb,
all of their stuff, and kind of what was paid out. And I think they said there was like $500,000 in damage.
Well, she said she couldn't she couldn't anticipate what just the maintenance costs were, because the guy fired a gun. It went through the main water line of the building, which then flooded completely her unit, 11 other units, and the hallway. Again, Airbnb supposedly screens these people, so she wasn't even there. This happened on October 12th, and it was just resolved 3 weeks ago. But again, the building had commercial insurance. She had insurance coverage, and then Airbnb offers a $1 million policy. And so the building itself, and if any of the tenants tried to subrogate, which would mean subrogate the cost, meaning the actual building said, hey, this is your fault. Our insurance isn't going to pay for this. We're going to make you pay for it personally. That's called subrogation. Airbnb covered that.
Wow.
And so she told, it was an Airbnb horror story, but one of the things that they went over too is, again, they're buying Airbnbs because they're so profitable.
I'm getting ready. I've got an investor, and we have a property. He's got the property in Bishop Arts, and we're getting ready to turn it into an Airbnb. So when they started talking about it, like I kind of perked up. And these are just things that you don't think about.
Right.
There are real life situations and things that are happening.
One of the things that Jason's buying too is a beach house in Corpus Christi that they're using as their office. And they're going to then Airbnb it for 10 to 15 weeks out of the year, which will completely pay for the cost of it. He said that's just a quick idea. Bettina, have you ever had any experience with Airbnb?
No, but I want to.
See, I haven't either, and I'm very interested in it. I've had someone approach me about one of my properties.
If you need it
about
decorated,
doing it.
apparently I'm doing that now.
You're doing Airbnb decorating?
My investor, like I want to talk to you about this, but like I staged my first listing this last week, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love it, I love it, I love it." And then he asked me to decorate his 2 Airbnbs that we're doing, so I'm putting everything
Where do you get the
together.
furniture? Because Donovan went into that too. He said, over time just get a storage unit and acquire, but where do you get the furniture?
That's what we're doing is this particular investor is doing probably 4 flips a month, and so I had the conversation with him about staging, and he was like, okay, we'll just start a staging company and I'll buy everything and then you can use it for your other clients too.
Yes.
So he'll be purchasing everything and I'll be handling everything, and we're splitting it. I mean, we're literally starting a staging company.
So Katie is going to be doing staging. If you need a stager, I don't know her taste.
I'm posting I'll post some pictures and stuff.
Oh, you did, but didn't you just? I think you did just post one.
I may have. I can't remember if I posted all of them or not. But everybody has loved it. So, and I put in we just went under contract, and I got a picture of a sloth because I wanted something fun, because sloths are fun, and that's the one thing that they're taking from the listing. Anyway, that's totally off topic. But we went into Nebraska Furniture Mart, and they've got all kinds of stuff, and he wanted new furniture. But we just went, I bought cheap stuff that looked good. That was super,
it doesn't, nobody's going to sit on it. It's in a picture.
Yeah, that was for staging.
Yeah.
But a lot of your stuff you can get from the marketplace.
Yeah.
Do you stage your properties?
I sure do.
I know you do.
personally?
I personally,
do you have
myself,
good taste?
yes. I think so. I get a lot of compliments.
Yeah.
I'll send you my pictures. I enjoy it. Me and my mom do it together. That's our kind of like mother-daughter time. So, because as soon as I see a fixer-upper, I'm like, I already see it in my mind how it needs to look like. And I've tried having other people do it for me. I'm like, no. We got to redo the whole thing. So it's not in my mind. I've already chosen the colors, how it's going to look like. The entire thing, why not do the staging too? Because I already see it in my mind, and no one else sees it. So
a lot of the shows made that point, the importance of staging. And you've noticed that as well.
100%. You know what? And my house is so fast because of it. It's crazy. As soon as I made that investment, and knowing it's an investment, I have an entire storage full. I mean, I have like 6 houses full. I mean,
okay, for all of you guys that do the Propelio shows, maybe we should do one on staging.
Absolutely. Listen, that's an important thing. People may
that.
not know what staging is. That's actually when you take a house, you put furniture in it, take pictures of it. The furniture doesn't stay in there, but it doesn't look empty. It looks lived in, and it's really nice.
People
I actually just did that with my aunt's house, and it sold already.
People have a really hard time visualizing on an empty, or when you have other people's stuff in there, which I never really staged as a traditional agent, but because most of the houses that I sold, they had their own stuff in it. I went in and we moved stuff around and packed stuff up and, made some changes, but it was with their own furniture. So now, working with investors, everything's vacant. It makes just such a huge
in a competitive market too. Difference. And let me just one tip: when you take a picture of a bathroom, shut the toilet lid. I mean, people. But again, when people just take pictures of their house, they have like the soap and then like the kitchen, like there's a bowl of cereal, like the closets, like stage your closet.
Yeah.
Just make it, just
Why
clean.
Are you putting pictures of people's cluttery closets on the MLS?
Yes,
anyway?
because that's what people are thinking. I couldn't use that. And again, staging is offering a suggestion. It doesn't have to be fully furnished. It's just there.
No, we just do. I do living room, bedroom, kitchen, master bath.
It's a suggestion. Just little suggestions.
I know this is I know we can go on and on.
Oh, I know. We're creating
Right.
our own show
Sorry,
right here.
but I'm so happy, guys. I see some viewers still on. We're almost done. We're going to take a quick break. We got 2 more shows to cover, guys. Really great shows. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Propelio Academy, an all-in-one education resource for training in wholesales, subject to wraps, short sales, flips, rentals, BRRRR, property management, and more. Go to propelio.com/academy to get your scholarship today. Propelio.com. What does Propelio offer? Lead generating websites, access to true MLS comps, off-market lead lists, and deal alerts. Get them all today at propelio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Rewind, where we are going over all of this week's shows and topics that have been on Propelio this week. So we are almost done. We have 2 more shows to cover. We're just going to dive right in. So the second to last show is the REI Divas. They had Elizabeth Palmer on, and she's I'll say high-end divorce attorney. And I think she has South Lake. Is that what she?
I'm not. She's in Fort Worth. In Fort
Worth.
She's, I believe,
She's in downtown Fort Worth. But they talked about divorce leads, and a lot of people, they want to know about divorce leads. And in the beginning, they were talking about, you have to know how to talk to these people, and it's the same thing as probate. How to have these conversations with people that are going through divorce and how to handle that, and knowing whether they're emotional or logical in talking with. And how to handle both of the people that's emotional and the one is logical on there. I loved having. I mean, Elizabeth was so fun to watch.
She's funny, but this was kind of the subject of the show was divorce leads, how to find them, how to talk to them, and how to market to them.
Yes.
Guess what? We just talked about this. Divorce filings are public information.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, go to the courthouse.
But you have to get it from the courthouse. But she said, here's a tip. And she's a very high, what she deals with is she deals with high asset individuals.
Yes.
So so you want to look for the high asset individual attorneys. How do you do that? She said, drive by their office, or just research it. She said, look in Dallas Magazine. There'll be articles on them. They deal with high asset individuals. So when they're getting divorced, what do high asset individuals have? A real estate portfolio.
Yeah.
They may have rental properties. And so the point of how to find the leads, how to talk to the people, and how to market to them was how to market to everyone, how to market yourself as an investor to the attorneys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
One of the key points she said was don't if you go to their office to introduce yourself, and she said, by the way, they love when an investor comes in and says, I can sell houses quickly.
I can pay cash.
I
can buy the houses fast.
Quickly.
Well, yeah.
The reason is, as an attorney, she wants to get paid.
Yeah.
When these people are getting a divorce, they may not be very liquid at this point. And so if you come in and you tell them you can sell that house quick, she knows they're going to have cash that they can pay her with. Mm-hmm. So when you go in and market yourself, don't give them a card, because that's going to get tossed in the trash.
She was like, give them a brochure.
She said, get a brochure. But be very specific about what you do.
Yeah.
And that, she said, they'll take a brochure, and not necessarily like a fold-out brochure, but literally, here's my name, here's exactly my specialty and what I do.
Yep.
Here's how you contact me if you have someone that has properties. I don't care if it's raw land. I don't care what it is. I'll close on it quickly. She said, they'll file that.
Yeah.
And they do, they can't recommend someone based on preference. It's sort of a round robin. But she said, they love that. They love doing that.
It was really interesting when they started talking about some of the pay-per-click, which is PPC,
Google Ads,
Google Ads and stuff. That if you have a website and you're doing some of the pay-per-clicks, you do the keywords kind of on the back end of things. And she was like, take some of these bigger divorce lawyers or attorneys
Your
and
biggest
use
competitor.
The big, but you're as an investor, if you've got that, on your website, use those people's names.
Their actual business
Their
names.
actual businesses. And I thought it was hilarious that she said that somebody actually Googled ball busting attorney or ball busting
female attorney, and that's how they came in.
And that's how they came, and they
to
got
her.
her, and she was like, so I guess, whatever, maybe I should just add that on my stuff.
Well, what she did over the years is she said she compiled a list of all the things during the divorce process that men would come in and say to her.
Yes, I loved this.
And all the things that women would come in to say to her. And she used that as
her
keywords for
Yes.
SEO, which is search engine optimization. So the number one thing that men say in a divorce situation, she said they'll always come in sort of with a defeatist attitude of, I know my wife is going to get custody of the kids.
Yeah.
So she did a keyword of women always get custody. How do I get custody?
Yeah.
Because guess what people are going to be searching?
Yeah.
How do I get custody?
But
Why do women always get custody? And she compiled this over, she made a list.
Yeah.
But this is something that you, as an investor, not just with divorce leads, if you're sitting down and you're you're going on all of these seller appointments, right? You're going to hear some of the same stuff over and over and over again. Take those keywords and put them, on your website, do blogs on it. I don't know, something like that.
They said that
Which
too.
they did cover.
They
Yeah.
did cover that.
They
said
went
you
through
can-
and they cover all that.
contribute to informational articles on blogs, but the thing is, think about it from what you search. You're not going to search investor tips. You might search, how do I become a real estate investor? Or what is the biggest mistake that you can make when filing your taxes? Or
how to get started in
wholesaling. What's the worst thing that blah 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 does?
Yeah.
And let me just quickly, because the number one thing women say when they come into the office, what do you think it is? It's on there, but what do you think the number one?
I remember what she said.
You remember what she said, but
Yeah.
it's I can't afford to get divorced.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she created a keyword around that. How can I afford to get divorced? What do I do?
Yeah.
The money. And she gave actual information. She said, for marketing SEO tips, search engine optimization, use a site called Hibu, Hibu. Again, all this is in the notes. The actual address is there. It tracks your metrics. You have to pay for it, but it tracks your keywords. It suggests keywords, and it tracks which ones are actually generating calls, generating leads. It tracks all of that for you.
What show was it that they were talking about going to other events?
So, she said that too.
Well, I know. That's where I'm getting at. Is there was some? I'm sorry.
It was the artist show, Ryan and CJ's
Yes,
last week.
yeah. So of course,
if you're selling art, go to something other than an art
show. But you're you're going to other people's. Broaden your horizons and go out. So if you know of a divorce of an attorney network or divorce attorney network, go to it.
And
go
then
to
the largest,
it and introduce yourself.
She actually said the largest one. And if you want to market with family divorce attorneys, it's coming up in August, and it's in San Antonio. It's called Advanced Family. Yes, and I believe it's a continuing education thing, or people can go, but it's called Advanced Family. Just look it up in August in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. And again.
And she was saying they have like booths and stuff like that set up. Just go in.
And again, just go in with your pitch. Be honest. Be this. I can sell property. Send them a brochure that's informational and real. And then, real quick, divorces or divorce filings are public information. Mm-hmm. But you can't just search that. You have to go to the courthouse. So the steps you need to do that: go to the courthouse. When you find out who the big wig divorce attorneys are, you can search their filings daily by their name or their bar association number.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yes.
That you can go through and literally search for, it's just like searching on the MLS for real estate agents.
Of course, Daniel has set up water leads and systems like that. I don't know that a system like that has been set up for curating divorce filings information. I guess you could call
And they even go over for me. I mean, my 2 takeaways was, for one, just, I mean, this is a very delicate situation,
Yes.
you know, whenever we're contacting these people. But knowing that niche and just being respectful. I mean, she was even talking about, like, this is business. I know what I'm going. I know I'm going to help you. You just need to find the right words to say to make sure you go from, you know, this is going to happen anyway. Let me just try to help you through the process. Let me guide you. Let me be that person that, you know. And then the second thing was that regarding that conference in San Antonio in August, if you don't get it, it's not just meeting people. This is free leads. These are free leads, free contacts that you can go. I mean, if they want, these attorneys are wanting to make extra money, right?
Yeah.
So you're coming in there and you're going to be helping them as well at the same time.
And the key part of your marketing with that was pay cash quickly. Quickly. Highlight that, quickly.
And I have one more thing that she didn't mention before. Before I forget. So another way to get free leads. So sometimes through the process of getting divorced, you might have to talk to a mediator.
Oh, yeah.
So contacting a mediator, any mediator within your area, get with them because they're also involved and they might, you know, just say, hey, look, I know they're going through mediation. Let them know that I can purchase that property. For some reason, they're not, you know, they're coming into terms somehow where the judge or whoever's not making the decision for them. So they're willing to.
Yeah, if you can reach them at the point of mediation before they actually have to litigate. And again, like you said, be empathetic. Say, I understand you don't want to sell this house and there are memories involved. The reality is it's going to have to be sold, so let me just guide you through the process.
Her exit of the show was hilarious. She was like, all right, if you know how we always kind of like introduce ourselves and we put our own little plug in, and she was like, all right guys, if you want to ruin what you've built the last 25 years and get a divorce and throw everything away, just give me a call. And I literally busted out laughing.
One of the funny things too, she said it's like she only works on referrals now, and she said one of her referrals came in and said, you know, I want you to represent me. And she said, who referred you? And she was like, and the person said, Jane Smith referred me. And she said, Jane, I represented Joe. And the person said, I know.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I know.
When she said that, like when just like real short, like I did that, right? So when I went through like my custody stuff, I recommended, you know, his lawyer all the time. I'm like, here's, you know, mine died, but that's different. But I always recommended his lawyer, but I knew him, like I knew him before, and he's a phenomenal lawyer. And I did the same thing, and every time I do it, like I kind of laugh, like I'm like, I
wish I had that whenever I went through a divorce too. So I'm like, man, I should have got me one of Elizabeth Harmer's.
A pit bull. And again, so the you know, from that show, it was networking not only to the people who are divorced, but the attorneys themselves. These are free leads. They are public information that you can get from the courthouse. Leads, market with them. Yeah. And again, it was a great show.
Another place to get leads.
It is, and that was for beginners or whatever level you're in. That's just another lead source. I think every level can use more leads.
Yeah.
Oh, you can never get enough leads, guys. And if you do, you're crazy. Send them over to me.
If you're getting too many leads, I'm sure there's people that will take some off.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. We got you.
So that was that show. It was great. And so we'll move on to Pain and Gain's TJ show. And I believe we had the debut of the youngest Propelio guest, 12 weeks old.
Oh, my gosh.
12 weeks old. Is it Isabella? Isabella, and she was 12 weeks old.
I started listening.
She was dropping knowledge.
It was so funny. I had my headset in, right? And so when Pain and Gains is on, I'm normally driving in and I'm listening to the show. And then I get here, you know, in the middle of it. Well, I'm at Chipotle and I just put in my, I'm like, is that, what is that?
What's that?
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, is there a baby on the show? And I have my headset in, so I'm not physically watching the show, and my phone's in my purse. And I literally had to pull out my phone. And I'm like, there's a baby on the show.
Yeah.
I thought something was like in my head. I don't know.
Well, that was
that's pretty funny.
That's history making debut. You know, 12 weeks old. youngest
Propelio host.
Propelio viewer. So they had on Brad Stribling, who is a friend of TJ, a personal friend of TJ, and
Like
TJ
a
said
mentor,
it was
like
like
a
a mentor to
mentor.
him. And Brad started out owning an ad agency, and then now what he does is sales training. So the show was kind of about training and the process of that. Again, this is all scaling. How do you how do you identify someone's talents? And he said that if someone comes in again for a sales job, and Sal, everyone has talked about this. If someone comes in as a salesperson for an interview and they're not fitting that role, maybe there's something about them that you recognize that they don't even recognize themselves. They think they're a salesperson, but maybe they are not.
Right.
Maybe they're a lead manager. Maybe they're better at sort of fostering leads and buttering people up. They're not a closer. But you've got to recognize that. And then he does sales training for people, and they basically were just going over that process. And the story that he relayed of why he was talking about, what he can't do, like he does, he doesn't do roofs, or he doesn't do
He doesn't
the
do any
work.
sort of the rehabs.
He doesn't do the rehabs. He doesn't do the work.
But his family has been in real estate. His dad was in real estate. His grandfather was as well. And it was really funny. They were talking about literally how he doesn't do any of the rehabs on there. And he was like,
But
all right, so
why?
maybe I can swing a hammer. And he was like, no, you can just go to Home Depot. And he's like, what do you need at Home Depot? And he's like, nothing, just go to Home Depot.
Just go to Home Depot.
And he's like, that's how bad I am. And
what turned him off to that is the first project that because I guess it's like you said, his family was in it.
Yeah.
And so they did rehabs, and the first rehab his father had him go into a house. It said, bought this house, it needs to be cleaned out. So he shows up and he's like, oh, by the way, someone died in the house, and they were in the house for 6 weeks, and their body exploded. So you need to clean it up.
His dad forgot
to tell him.
Forgot to tell him that this happened, and he shows up at the house.
Yeah.
And it's just,
And
the guy wasn't still in the house.
Right, but
that's
I guess parts of him
but
were.
an explosion of a body that's been in a heat
I've been
and
to a
humidity.
few of
Oh, he
those.
said it was the middle of June,
Yes.
July in
So
Texas, and
the smell, I've never smelled it, but anyone that has will tell you.
I
will,
have.
have you really?
Yes.
Describe it in detail.
Oh my gosh. The
You
craziest
can't,
thing.
right? It's
Yeah.
you know it.
Yeah.
Again, and that's
And
what he
you
said.
will know it for a while because you can't get
You
that
can't get
stank
it out, right?
No.
You can't get it out. So he was saying that turned him off forever from doing that, and he'll never forget that. And then I believe 6 weeks after he did that,
Oh my
his
God, it was so
grandfather
funny.
sent him in a package
Wow.
a cane of the person. It was something that was in that. It was like the person's cane that was in the
I wonder
house.
if he died with it in his hand, and that's why.
I-
Anyway,
I'm sure that every item in that house
probably smelled. Yeah.
smelled. So he sent him that cane. He said, of course, it smelled. And he was like, and his grandfather said, get an education, learn everything you can, and you will never have to do this again. And that was his point.
But he did talk about how, like, the reason why he continued, into real estate is his dad was kind of that type of person. But his granddad showed him the books. His granddad showed him, like, the money that could be made with it and the value that was. And that was why, like, he continued on with it.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting.
And finding
that-
his own place
Yeah.
in what he was good at
Right.
helped him to be able to train others to identify, that's why he's able to identify talent in others, is because maybe he had to go through a process of learning his own talents and weaknesses. Again, that's themes throughout the shows. Know your own weaknesses. Hire people who fill the
Right.
gaps of that.
Exactly.
And again, that's always a good show. TJ smiles a lot. But
We
that's
missed
always
Kelly
a
on
great
that
show.
one. I
I
miss
know.
Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly,
She was-
they're great. But
I
again,
think she's on vacation.
she might be, but again, what we're here to do is really to give you just overview of the shows. This show again it was informational, more fun.
Yeah.
But it just kind of, he gave a little bit of sales training tips, but just more fun. It's kind of just something to watch. But we're here to just break it down and give you the overview of the shows so you can decide what you need. Because, guys, the information, and again, you guys agree, it's unbelievable.
Oh
Yeah.
man, yeah.
I mean, you should be paying a subscription for this. You really should. I mean, it's.
Y'all talking about my ASMR video?
Oh my, no, we are not, and we weren't going to. But thank you so much.
But
No.
Ryan, I guess, did an ASMR video, which is
I don't even know
autonomic
what that stands
ASMR,
for.
autonomic sensory meridian response. So that's like some people, like if you get, I don't know if you whatever, but some people when they get a haircut, you get like chills up your spine. Something that
just
causes
got
that.
chills
That's
now.
called an autonomic sensory meridian response, ASMR. And so people will do videos where they're like, "I'm going to open the paper," and then Bob Ross, that painter, that would paint like happy trees.
Stop
That
it.
I used to watch those, and I was just like.
And Ryan was eating pho, and you can hear him.
Pho.
Yeah. Pho.
Pho. Was it
When
pho
you
gum?
were trying to get the container open, I'm like, oh my god.
This is the opposite of ASMR. This is like hell.
Your voice is so funny.
I haven't listened to it yet, but
You
Not a
shouldn't.
Propelio
You'll.
sanctioned video.
It's,
oh god, yeah, that's not an informational video.
It's just a waste.
It's Ryan eating pho, but
of time.
but we are not here to waste your time. We're here to
Yes.
really wrap everything up, give you what you need, tell you kind of what level it is, what you need to watch. You guys are going to have to do the plug things because I don't remember them.
I mean,
but
when you guys, when you are watching our show and it intrigues you to go back and you watch one of the other shows, maybe you had never heard of, the Daniel's guerilla marketing, the Bandit sign where you put it on your car and you want to go back and watch that. I mean, let us know that it's helpful to you of what we're saying and what we're doing, and do the hashtag replay rewind. Also, all of these notes, man, like there's so much of them. Go to propelio.com/rewind, and you guys will put in your email, and you'll get, I think it's just once a week, right, Ryan? Once a week, you'll get an email, and you'll have all of these notes, and there's so much content on here. There's quizzes, there's keywords. There's so much that's on here. I know I can go through and I watch these shows now, and I can listen to them while I'm doing other things, and then I get the notes, and I really retain more because you're listening, you're reading, and if you want to write some of this stuff out, like you're retaining more of that information and that knowledge. But Propelio puts out so much content, which is a really good thing, but it is also really overwhelming to know what to go back and what to watch and what,
so that's
what's
why
good
we're
for
here.
you, and
That
that's
is
why
why
we
we're
do
here.
this. So.
Yeah, and I think too, guys, and don't forget that we, Propelio, is having an event next Tuesday. It's already next week, so don't forget to make sure you show up May 14th. It's all over Propelio's
We'll all be
Facebook
there.
page. We're all going to be there. I mean, it's my first one now being a host on the show, so I know it's going to have a whole totally different feel. And I'm excited to meet people. And, if you have questions, ask us because we'll know, okay, you need to talk to this person.
Go talk to this person. Go talk to this
yeah.
person.
And maybe go in like with a focused,
exactly.
your time lever. What are you leveraging? Your time, your
Exactly.
money, or your experience? Just have kind of an idea. That's been again one of the things
Yeah.
too.
I'm
love
really
that.
glad that you said that because, what I've been trying to do is that when I see people talk about stuff, on Facebook, they're like, how do I do this? And I'm like, here, go back and watch this video, and I'll tag the video on there. So do not be afraid to ask us
Right.
for some sort of referral or, do you have any information on this? And we may not, but it may. I mean,
And again,
even we may,
if you have suggestions of shows you think topics that should be covered, you can tell
Staging.
us. We'll forward it to the right people. We'll, listen. There's things everyone doesn't know. So.
And even too, guys, here on this, chat below. If you have questions, if you're, kind of wondering if we didn't cover some of the nuggets, and even, make sure again these notes are very critical. But if you have any more questions, if you're curious about something, let us know. We're going to go after this show. We'll go back in the comments, answer any questions that you have, just because, in a few minutes the live is over. But we're still going to go back. We want to make sure that you're getting as much content and information. We want everybody to be successful. And, that's just what Propelio is all about, and I love it. And I think as soon as y'all realize that, too, you're going to just love it as much as we do and want to be a part of it. So network is king, guys. Make sure you go to the event next Tuesday. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. A lot of amazing things on Propelio.com, and they're integrating so much more stuff. It's blowing my mind. And we're going national. I feel like it's a we, because it is a we thing, and we're going national. So be a part of this momentum.
And follow
sure.
their journeys.
Yes.
Follow these guys' journeys, because they're growing with the process. I mean, really,
Yes.
you guys are doing amazing, and so it's.
And you can
It's
follow
awesome.
us on Facebook. Again,
Yeah.
quick plug, Facebook. We're linked on this. And
Yeah, if you guys, if you send, I know definitely me, if you send me a friend request and I don't respond
Someone's
to it.
cold.
Hey,
You're
hey.
freezing. No,
I am cold. I think you're talking about.
No, she's got chill bumps. She's got chill bumps. Like chill bumps. I'm burnt. Like, I'm
like, wait a
sweating.
minute,
I was like,
I
you got chill bumps.
Oh,
I don't
geez.
know where y'all's mind is.
Because you pointed.
And her
I'm
arm.
like chill bumps, but I thought he was pointing at something
my
else,
God.
and I'm like,
So
so
all right, I don't know what we were talking about now.
plugs.
we're doing outros. Boom. What do you need? What do you need, Bettina? What can
I'm
people?
dying
How can
laughing.
people contact you? What do you need? And
Okay, so
boom.
what I need, of course, are leads. I love to partner up with people. If you are needing to JV, we would love to JV with you. Make sure you send us a message on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram as well. I'm all capped out on my Facebook friends, guys, but I did get a new page, so make sure you find that. And that's it. I like to meet new people. I love to network.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're new or you, of course, if you've been in this for a while. I want to talk to you. I
Say
love
hi to her at the event.
Yes, love it.
So, I mean, we said this earlier. Like, I'm definitely looking for deals. I have a ton of investors that man, like I probably need like 10 deals right now, to be honest, on houses to flip anywhere in DFW. But if you guys see me at the Propelio event, on the 14th, like, come up, say hi, introduce yourself. I love meeting you guys at the Propelio event. Also, now I remember what I was saying before we talked about it getting cold. If you guys send me a friend request and I don't respond to it because Facebook does this weird thing, send me a message and say that you were watching me on the show, and then I'll go in and
Yeah.
I'll add you.
Same here.
Because I've gotten to the point now where I only add people with a certain amount of friends in common. So if you aren't friends with literally a ton of people in real estate, then I probably won't add you because I am getting close to that threshold on there. But just send me a message and let me know that you saw me on the show, and then you can add me as well. But I also have a public figure page that you can add. You can follow me on there too.
Excuse
so.
me. Excuse me. No, so I'm Tyler with Propelio, Tyler at Propelio.com. The event is May 14th. Always come up and say hi. I'm looking for bad deals. I'm not kidding. If you have deals that are bad, I will figure out who needs what, when, where. Let me know. I'll figure out somebody that needs it, does it, bad deal, horrible, whatever. If you come up to me, I'll find somebody that can do something with it.
Yay.
I may not be the creative finance person, but I know somebody that
Yeah.
is. So, and any of us
Yeah,
can do that.
yeah,
So
for
I'm
sure.
not deal. I don't care.
Yeah.
But awesome show, you guys. Amazing.
Tommy, do you have any last words?
Plugs.
I think Ryan did.
I was just going to say, you
Ryan's
can
gonna-
follow me, Ryan S. Harper, on Instagram, and I also really good at connecting people.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
that is true.
Bulldog Judo.
Bulldog
I'm-
Judo.
I'm real busy. Leave me alone for the next couple weeks. Thanks.
Ryan said on Instagram, he's Ryan S. Harper on Instagram. Tommy has Bulldog Judo in Arlington.
Grand Prairie.
Grand Prairie, Main Street, 200 block, I think.
Yep.
Boom! I just remember that. Outro, who's going to do it?
I will. So, guys, again, thank y'all so much for watching, and make sure you go back and do all the things that we told you to do, and also learn and take back and implement these things. Don't just listen.
Take action.
Make sure you actually take action to those. We have a great weekend. Blessed
Happy
weekend.
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mamas out there. And make sure you tune back in on Monday.
And we
Monday
love
morning.
feedback.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
And it's Friday.
Yay.
Have a great weekend.
Yes.
Bye.
Love you, Justin, by the way.
Don't drive. if you've been drinking. Oh, we need to have a drink.
Propelio TV is sponsored by Noble Mortgage and Investments, Batch Skip Tracing, Think Multifamily, CreativeCashflow.com, and Lifeonaire.
Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.